Welcome to the podcast on the Year of the Faith. Here I am, Brother Frederick Kaiser. I'm here with
Deacon Brian Coe. How you doing, everybody?
And we're here to talk about the Catechism of the Catholic Church. And why are we going to talk about the Catechism,
well,
Deacon Brian?
We're beginning the Year of the Faith, and we want to help you get right into it. Pope Benedict is inviting all Catholics to dive into the Catechism because the Catechism teaches us how to live the faith, and so it's the perfect sort of activity to do in the Year of the Faith.
Now, there's one difficulty. I always had it. When you look at this book, it's a big book. It's got over 1,000 pages, 2,865 numbers. And you open this thing up,
wow.
and it's intimidating.
Those numbers aren't short either.
No, it's intimidating. The book...
It's like Times New Roman 10.
You know, how am I ever going to read this thing
places.
in my lifetime, you know? So
wow, yeah. You
can
can listen to podcasts about it.
That's true. We also need to read it, but
okay, true.
It's intimidating. How am I ever going to get through?
First of all, you got to start like this. It's not a book that you want to read cover to cover. So it's not trying to be Harry Potter here.
Right.
Okay. It's a reference book. So it's like a dictionary or an encyclopedia, or if you want, it's like the Sibley Guide to Bird Life and Behavior. People who are serious about bird watching, well, they've got the Sibley Guide to Bird Life and Behavior on their shelves, and they use it. And they go and they see a bird, they get interested in it, they look up that part of the book, they see what the male, female, what the other gender of the bird looks like.
It's kind of like with me when I used to go, I still do, to go stargazing. I have my star almanacs to be able to see the different constellations. And when you go with your telescope, you want to know how do you see a galaxy? You can't see that with the naked eye. You need a map to be able to find it with the telescope. So you have all these books that tell you what the different types of galaxies are, and I have those on my shelf.
You know, that's interesting because people have taken me stargazing a couple times, and well, yeah, it's neat lying on the ground looking at the stars, feeling philosophical,
right.
But I kind of felt, in those moments, I felt like I needed a book to get me to the next level.
Right, and
so it was. Yeah.
And that's what the Catechism does. It's a book, it's a reference book that really brings you to the next level in your faith. If you're serious about your faith, you need to have this on your shelf, and you need to use it.
Very good. Now, we got to keep in mind here that the faith is not just intellectual content, but a whole lot more. It's a journey towards our eternal home, heaven.
You know, living our faith, it's like being in the middle of a road trip. I have a very fond memory of my favorite road trip. When I was a kid, we went from Kansas down to Texas, all the way over to California, up to Montana, over to Minnesota, and back down to Kansas.
It's a lot of road.
It was incredible. And on that trip, there was some big moments of that trip. Like one of my favorites when we went to Disneyland. We went and visited our cousins in Montana, other cousins in Minnesota. We went and visited some national parks, Yosemite National Park. And those
beautiful.
Are, you know, on any trip you always have.
That's nice.
Yeah,
it's really good.
We also visited the Grand Canyon. So there's big moments on the trip that you just never forget. But also, you know, there are moments, there are little moments too. You stop at a rest area, you stop at a gas station, because if you don't do that, bad things can happen. Like happened to us one time in Northern California.
What?
Our gas gauge in our Winnebago, where we were traveling in, our gas gauge actually broke halfway through the trip, so you couldn't tell how much gas was exactly in it, so you had to kind of calculate it all.
So you were walking by faith and not by sight.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in Northern California, we actually ran out of gas. We just miscalculated. We ran out of gas
That's a bummer.
and stopped there. We really didn't know what was going to happen, but luckily a few minutes later, somebody drove by who actually had gas in the back of their truck.
Wow.
And he filled it. He didn't ask for any money or anything. He was a very nice man. Filled up the
guardian angel was working on it.
We filled it up and we kept going. And then there can be things can break on a trip too. In Arizona one time, our air conditioning broke as we were driving through Arizona.
This was in January, I hope.
No, this was in the middle of the summer.
No.
So things can break along the way too, and you know you gotta know how to fix them, or you know where you can go to get that stuff fixed too. So, wow. But that was a fantastic trip, and you know it kind of helps me just imagine myself in the middle of that trip, wanting to get back home. That's what we're doing right now. We're in the middle of this road trip with lots of neat experiences, but we're all striving to get back home.
Yeah. So the Catechism, the big moments in our life, the good ones, the bad ones, if you think about dating, you think about discernment, getting married, loving and raising your kids, when loved ones pass away, when we trip and fall, and when we run into sin in our lives, how to avoid sin, how to handle it when we sin, all these things, the Catechism helps us prepare for them, and it helps us react to them. But especially, it gives us what we need to get home, to get to heaven.
And that's it. The Catechism teaches us how to live the faith. And faith is walking to heaven. It's getting to heaven. That's what faith is. It's that journey to really get to heaven. So, we've explained this book a little bit. You know, it's a reference book that helps us to get.
Is that it? So we're done with the podcast?
No, we're gonna go week by week and take section by section of the Catechism and try and explain it, and to really see how this journey of faith works. And so during the Year of the Faith, we'll be doing these weekly podcasts, and we'll take a section every time of the Catechism. We hope you've enjoyed this first podcast.
So keep up with us. Stay tuned. We'll be putting up a new podcast every week. Listen to it in your car. Listen to it doing exercise, whatever you want to do. And by the end of the Year of the Faith, you're going to be beefed up on the Catechism.
So guess we'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Bye.
God bless you.